So hopefully this little walkthrough video was going to help with the stationary station work that I'm going to ask you to do next in class. So we've got a situation here described where you've got you're working two jobs, each with their respective hourly pay, and you've been asked to, with some totals as well, you can't work more than 41 hours, and you have to earn at least $254 a week to pay your bills. So we want to write a system of inequalities that can show the number of hours you can work at each job to be able to do that. So, as always, we should start by establishing what our variables represent, and that's really in the question that gets asked. Even though there isn't a direct question here, you can kind of the implied question of how many of each job can you work. So I'm going to say that X is going to equal number of hours house cleaning, and Y is going to equal number of hours that's doing your sales job, right? So that's you could flip-flop those. It doesn't really matter as long as you keep everything straight throughout the problem, right? So we know what our variables represent. So we're going to start looking at these values that we have in here. We've got 41 hours is our total amount you can work at your two jobs, right? However many hours you work house cleaning, however many hours you work at your sales job cannot exceed 41 hours. So whatever X, we don't know what X plus Y is, but we know it can't be more than 41. It can be 41, but it can't be more than 41. So that's a pretty straightforward one. Whatever the variables represent, add them together, that number can't be more than 41. On the flip side, we also know that we want to make $254 at a minimum each week, and we're doing that $5 and $8 an hour, for each job. So what we have there is 5x plus 8y is greater than or equal to 254, because we want $254 at a minimum for our money, and we're going to do that $5 an hour at our house cleaning gig and $8 an hour at sales. And I'm also going to throw in here that X and Y both have to be greater than 0, which is just really covering the fact that we don't deal with anything in our negative values. It doesn't make any sense to work negative hours at a job, so we're only going to be living in our first quadrant. Now, we totally could do this. We could multiply everything in that top one by 5, or multiply everything in that top one by 8, and use elimination to establish where they meet and that sort of thing. But these are inequalities, so we're not talking about just one part where they meet. We're talking about the region where they overlap. This is where Desmos is going to help us way more than doing it by hand. So what I did is I just took a screenshot of what we did, because that's really all you need to do, because you can type it in as easily as I can. So I went to Desmos Graphing Calculator, and I apologize if you can overhear the dog making all that ruckus in the background. I apologize for that. There's our system, and each has their own line. Now, as you can see, there's going to be 4 different things on the screen, and there's going to be 4 different colors, so it's going to get a little bit muddled. But if we want to see where we can do this, here's the resulting thing, and I just kind of zoomed in a little bit. But now you have a sense here, looking at this solution region, which is again, like I said, it's getting a little bit muddled with the colors that they gave us, but we're talking about this region right here. This is the region that all 4 of those areas encompass, right? So we could work 20 and 20. We could work 10 and 30. We could work, whatever these are. I think these are multiples of 2, so a scale of 2. So we could work 8, and we could work lots of those. Any combination in there that works that's in that region is going to be something that keeps us within our time limit and above our money total. Now, not everything in here is going to be reasonable because you don't usually get paid fractions of hours or like all fractions of an hour. So they tend to be maybe half hours, depends. That's a case by case basis, but usually it's whole number values or maybe basic fractions like halves or decimals or things like that. Okay. So when you're doing the stationary station work, I encourage you to take the time to establish what the variables are, create the equations, and then, or the inequalities rather, and then use Desmos graphing calculator to set up and create the actual solution region. If you want to include a little sketch, that's great because you can find the point at which they meet. You can't. This is just a screenshot, so I can't activate that. But it would be easy enough to figure out here, and then, or you could just use that, or just do a brief kind of hand sketch of the solution region, and then if they ask for points that are in there, pull your answers from the graphing calculator. It makes it way easier to pull it from Desmos than to try to figure out each one at a time. All right. Hope this helps. Give it your best shot on the stationary station work, and please let me know if you have any questions.